Okay, now pay attention, because Dungeon World is the only Powered by the Apocalypse system I'm covering. Adapting the game mechanics of Apocalypse World into a pulp fantasy setting and inspiring way too many Kickstarter-funded games, Dungeon World is existent. Look, I have strong, mostly negative, opinions about Powered by the Apocalypse that I'll do my best not to let cloud my summary of the gameplay. But let me be clear. I'm doing this one, so if any of you suggest another Powered by the Apocalypse system, I can point here and say I've already covered it. Dungeon World was selected because I already had a copy of the book. This is not an endorsement of the system or its writers, but a reference tool to make tabletop RPGs more accessible. Same as any other episode. Understood? Dungeon World uses many of the same terms and concepts as a certain widely popular system. Each character has 6 ability scores: Strength for physical might, Constitution for endurance, Dexterity for physical movement, Intelligence for studied knowledge, Wisdom for experienced knowledge, and Charisma for interpersonal knowledge. Each ability score is assigned a number between 3 and 18. From which is derived a modifier ranging from -3 to +3. Scores 9 to 12 have a modifier of 0. More on that during character creation. Unless otherwise stated, when told to roll dice, players will roll 2d6s plus or minus the relevant modifier. If the result is 10 or more, congratulations! You've succeeded in whatever task you were attempting. If you get between 7 and 9, you still succeed, but with an additional consequence. If you roll 6 or less, then you get XP, but then the GM dictates your fate. Now, you may be thinking, doesn't the Game Master usually dictate your fate? Players, including the Game Masters, interact with the mechanics of Dungeon World and other Powered by the Apocalypse games through a system called moves. Basically, the idea is that everyone around the table are telling a story through unstructured collaboration until one of the players describes something that triggers a move, at which point the system suddenly springs into life to invoke some sort of mechanic, which then dictates a portion of the narrative with some room for interpretation by the players or game master, depending on the dice results. Suffice it to say, the rules cast the GM as more of an antagonist, as indicated by the language for failed rolls. As an example, Defy Danger is a move activated when you act despite an imminent danger or suffer a calamity. Basically, your character attempts to work around a threat, so the system wants you to justify how you intend to do so. Then roll dice modified by whatever modifier fits your description. Roll over 10, and you succeed, suffering no ill effects. Roll between 7 and 9, and the GM offers you a worse outcome, hard bargain, or ugly choice. Roll 6 or less, and the GM narrates your likely failure. I think of this as an example of a reactive move, because it happens when you describe your character doing something that causes the metaphorical system player to throw its hands up and demand you do something before you proceed. As an example of what I call an active move, or a move a player actively chooses to invoke, is Discern Realities, or Seeking Information if you don't want to be obtuse. When you investigate a situation or person, you roll and add your Wisdom modifier. Succeed, and you can ask the GM 1 or 3 direct questions, selected from a list provided by the book, such as, what happened here? What here is useful or valuable to me? What here is not what it appears to be? Or one of the other 3 questions. Finally, there's the moves related to combat. For Hack and Slash, you roll and add your Strength modifier, rolling damage upon success. If you don't succeed well enough, you open yourself up to a counterattack from the enemy. There's also moves for ranged attacks and defending. And that, class, is the core and combat mechanic lectures both complete, as Dungeon World doesn't separate combat into a subsystem. The book also doesn't have an initiative system, nor give any guidance towards how to handle taking turns. It just leaves it up to the players to sort it out amongst themselves. Personally, I think that leaves open a massive exploit for anyone who talks loud and fast to monopolize combat. Basically, Dungeon World enforces mechanics where I enjoy room for collaboration, and has no rules for where I think a system needs structure. Anyways, next up is character creation. Dungeon World has a very straightforward character creation process. You'll need a copy of the book, a pencil to write with, and a copy of the character sheet, which they didn't print in the actual book, and varies depending on the class you're playing, so you'll need to find it online. Or I guess you can just write it out on a blank piece of paper if you don't need a consistent layout between players so they can efficiently pool their experience and knowledge to find necessary information. And heaven forbid the website hosting the extended material goes down. I want to emphasize something right now. These lessons are meant to summarize the rules as written. And I do try to limit the commentary. Rules as written, stated as clearly as possible, nothing more. As the book does a good job writing out the process, I'll go step by step, as laid out by Chapter 3, page 47 of the book, and cross-referencing a class-specific chapter to model. Feel free to skip to the parts about health and leveling if you want. The board will say when the segment's done. Step 1. Choose a class. Let's make a rogue! A thief, apparently. Chapter 11, page 135. Step 2. Choose a species. A choice that bestows a special move and thus is mechanically significant. Thieves have two options, either halfling or human. I'm selecting human, giving our thief a +1 to spout lore or discern realities about criminal activities. Step 3. Choose a name. Reading directly from the text, choose your character's name from the list. So, rules as written, I must select from the list provided by Chapter 11, none of which starts with a C, so I guess our character's named Sparrow. Step 4. Choose their look. It's the same process as Step 3, but with multiple lists, not limited by race, and you need to choose one option per list. Let's give Sparrow criminal eyes, messy hair, dark clothes, and a flabby body. By the way, near as I can tell, Steps 3 and 4 have no mechanical effect on anything. Step 5. Choose stats. Dungeon World does a standard array, my second favorite stat assignment method, between strength, dexterity, constitution, intelligence, wisdom, and charisma. Distribute the following numbers: 16, 15, 13, 12, 9, and 8. For our thief, we'll assign them like this. One of these numbers increases whenever you use the leveling up move, so write in pencil and be prepared to make adjustments as you play. Step 6. Based off this chart, on page 49, determine the modifier for each stat, which means our thief's modifiers will be these. Step 7. Take your class's base HP and add your Constitution modifier. Step 8. Review what starting moves are available and make decisions towards any options or spells related to those moves. Step 9. Choose alignment, as prescribed by your class. This does have mechanical effects that involve leveling, so I'm cornered into making Sparrow chaotic, granting her the trait of leap into danger without a plan, which is what you'll have to argue you did at the end of every session to earn XP. Step 10. Choose gear. Again, look at the options provided to your selected class and make choices. For Sparrow, that means a dagger and short sword, a ragged bow and bundle of arrows, and adventuring gear. These all have an amount of weight you're expected to track. Step 11. Introduce your character to the rest of the table. Tell them whatever information you feel the other characters would know, with the GM asking leading questions to establish relationship, motivations, and character in general. Step 12. Fill out bonds. Now that you know the other characters, fill their names into the blank spaces in the little survey on your character sheet. Step 13. Get ready to play. Congratulations, you made your character! Woohoo! Next, let's take a moment to discuss health. Your character's maximum is calculated based off your class and constitution modifier. Some things will cause damage, lowering how much HP you have, but never below 0. Some moves heal you, though never above your maximum HP. If your HP reaches 0, that triggers the Last Breath move, and you roll 2d6 unmodified. The results dictate whether you have a chance to pull through, or if it's the end for your character. If you do die, the GM may create a method for resurrection, but there's no system standardized by the rules. Regardless, make a new level 1 character to play as. Finally, leveling, character progression, and character retirement. At the end of the session, the GM will decide if you performed the central tenets of Dungeon World: exploring, fighting, and looting, with each activity granting 1 point of XP. If you play to your alignment, you get another point of XP, and every time you roll a failure, you gain 1 experience point. Plus, miscellaneous moves will include gain XP and their outcomes. Whenever you have XP equal to your current level plus 7, your character levels up whenever you're in a downtime phase of the session. When your character levels up, subtract the previously noted amount of XP from your total, increase your level by 1, choose a new advanced move from your class, plus a spell if you're a wizard, and increase one ability score by 1. Ability scores cannot go higher than 18. When your character has enough XP to reach level 11, you then get 3 choices. Your character retires and is replaced by a new level 1 character. Your character stops gaining XP and instead mentors your new level 1 character, or your character changes classes, keeping their stats, race, HP, and whatever moves you and the GM agree are core to their character. Everything else is lost as they become level 1 in their new class. Which means, when you level past 10, you're mechanically obligated to stop playing your character. And that's Dungeon World, students. Anyways, Dungeon World doesn't have a combat subsystem, leaving how to handle fights up to the GM, so that's the end of this lesson. If I may be excused, one brief commentary. As written, this is a dumb system, and requires a lot of player work and compromise to make it actually functional. Please find a better system, and please stop filling crowdfunding sites with Powered by the Apocalypse derivatives. Anyone can write new move names and think up new settings. Design a new system if you want my money. Until next time, may your dice make things interesting.